About 20 years ago, my brother and his wife Elaine joined the First Church Congregational in Fairfield. It's a United Church of Christ now, but I believe it was the very first church in Fairfield. Um, and on their website, it says they were founded in 1639. So they've been going for a long time. Um, and I I didn't go very often with them, um, but I remember something that was happening in the church at that time, mostly because the pastor there, his name was David. He's now retired, an amazing preacher. But the UCC church at that time was rolling out a marketing campaign, and it was called God is Still Speaking. People are shaking their heads. Okay, you might remember this. And sort of the initiative was themed around the quote, never place a period where God places a comma. And that quote is attributed to the great Gracie Allen. I believe she had written it in one of her diaries. And David molded a lot of his sermons around, in a sense, it's more than a marketing campaign. It's really, in my opinion, a theology. And it caused the UCC church some controversy, not because God still speaks in this day and age, but there was a lot of controversy over just what the UCC church was hearing God say. And a year later, after they had rolled out this campaign, I think it was 2005, the church declared, the UCC church declared that they heard God saying that everyone is welcome in God's house. No matter where you came from, no matter what language you spoke, no matter what kind of a relationship you were in. And of course, this was very much in light of their prophetic welcome of gay and lesbian people into the UCC church. Um, and I thought about this because, you know, I really thought that our church had put a big period around the fact that they were never going to um, somehow bless and recognize and welcome people in irregular relationships. And you know, God actually had a comma there, and I think many of us always thought that that was a period. Thank you, Pope Francis. Even a little more recently, the Pope made a statement saying, I pray that no one is in hell forever. Something else that our theology has put a comma around, or at least I should say, our theology from the Grange, our theology that's rooted in a God image of Abba. Um, and so, God is certainly making things new. God certainly is still speaking. And that's where we find ourselves in our gospel this morning in Capernaum, where it says that Jesus was bringing a new teaching with a new sense of authority. We don't know actually what he was teaching. But what we do know is the actions that he took, especially around this man who had an unclean spirit. And that spirit recognized in Jesus the truth of who he was and the truth of who he is. The Jewish people of Jesus' day used the term evil spirit to refer to anything evil that could take over a person's life and either possess or own them. And so that evil spirit spoke its truth, and yet what was going on for that man is probably something that goes on for many of us when we don't believe that God is actually using a comma in our lives. When we've either given up, when we have just succumbed to being enslaved by whatever evil is possessing us. Never put a period where God has placed a comma. Our lives may feel at times like they are grinding to a halt. Our political situation in the United States, especially as this new presidential election is getting closer and closer, and we've put a period on the two primary candidates. Let's move that period away and put a comma there, because we do believe in a God who not only can, but does new things every day. A God who's committed to us. A God who wants to drive those things in our lives that possess us, that overtake us, so that we could actually live in the hope and the joy of a much brighter conclusion than we ever could have imagined. I'd love to hear where you think there are commas today, or where we've put periods in our present situation, and in such that we can pray that we could put a comma there instead.